Through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on
It's quite a beautiful morning in the garden city of Port Harcourt. A Sunday morning. Good happy Sunday to you. This is Atlantic Sunday, and this is a syndicated live program of the network featuring chit-chatting and conversations on special interest topics on news, events, and stories through correspondent reports, expert opinion, and stakeholders analysis. We have quite some juicy stories on our table today that we'd love to analyze with our guests. We'll take this very first story from Rivers State, where the government has debunked 80,000 naira minimum wage reports. And they are saying that that report is actually not true. According to them, the media actually had that report, but they are saying it is not true. And from Sokoto State, NAFDAC shot bakery for using saccharin and bromate. And then on IT, federal government to train 500,000 youths on AI and robotics. On data protection, federal government fines Facebook, WhatsApp $220 million. And you find out what that fine is for when we go into the details of that story. And we have this one from the National Assembly, where reps are telling the NRC to employ more female engineers. And on finance, economy has witnessed growth stability. This is a statement by CBN. We don't know how Nigerians will react to this one, but we actually have an economist in the house. He will tell us what his own analysis is, and he'll get to explain CBN's explanation better to us so we can understand. And then on security, we have the IGP assuring Nigerians of improved protection. On protests, you know, some Nigerians have been all over the place talking about wanting to protest over the economic hardship currently going on in the country. But then Yul Edochie, the actor Yul Edochie, has told Nigerians to be patient with Tinubu. Let's take some time off, and when we return, we'll delve straight to the details of this story and also introduce our guests. Please stay with us in ATN. Welcome back. It's still Atn Sunday, and in the studio today we have Dema Emmanuel George. Dema is an economist. He's a public affairs analyst. He is this amongst many other things. He has so much he's doing for the development of Nigeria, so much he's doing in his own contribution to make sure that everyone around him is actually doing great. Thank you so much, Dema, for joining us today on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor and privilege.
All right, let's do this. I don't know if you heard about this story talking about the Rivers State government, increasing minimum wage to 80,000 naira. Well, the government has distanced the governor, that's the Rivers State government now, has distanced the governor of the state, Siminalayi Fubara, from the reported proposal of 80,000 naira as minimum wage for civil servants in the state. Now, the disclaimer followed the media report on some social media platforms that the governor of the state had proposed to pay 80,000 naira as minimum wage to the workers. But in a media statement in the Port Harcourt on Friday, the chief press secretary to the governor, Nelson Chukwudi, decried the report as false. And according to Chukwudi, he hinted that the state has not taken a stand yet on how much the state would pay as minimum wage at the moment, and noting that government would take a decision in due course. With the whole minimum wage back and forth saga, I don't know if you're aware, but you would recall that the president has finally given an amount for the minimum wage, 70,000 naira. although there were reports that the NLC are against it, but then yesterday we had reports that the NLC they're okay with it at the moment. They have okayed it, and according to them, it's because of some other incentives that are also included. But the governors, some governors are saying we cannot do more than 50,000 naira at the moment, and then there were reports about 80,000 naira from River State, which has been debunked now. What are your thoughts on all of this?
It's quite interesting. I read reports of on social media about the 80,000 naira minimum wage by the governor. The broader lessons for us is that in this era of misinformation, it's very important to get the right information from the right persons so that you don't get misinformed. Misinformation can cripple a society because you can imagine the social media space. A lot of people go out there and spread all kind of misinformation, and misinformation misleads people. And when people are being misled, they take the wrong actions. So I'm very happy that the government officials have stated that it is wrong. It is a wrong information. It's a false information. And to the question of state governors that finding it difficult to implement the minimum wage, 70,000 naira, as a result of the capacity of their state and the strength of their state. Well, I think we should be fair to them. Each state have their own peculiar challenges, and their, for example, a good example is the IGR, the internally generated revenue. The internally generated revenue for a state like Lagos State is not the same for a state like Taraba State. Now, I've traveled across this country. I've been to many states in Nigeria, and if you travel and you discover that even their economies, there's differences. It's not the same. There is unique difference, and in terms of what they produce. But nevertheless, I think it's also important because when we talk about minimum wage, it's a standard for the country. You can't have state A paying differently from state B. We're trying to see how we can have uniformity. When there is uniformity, there is organization.
Can we really have uniformity? Because you already talked about the IGR and the fact that we have different states with their different IGRs. Even the federal allocations to these states are not the same.
Well, I understand, but we're looking at the minimum wage.
Yes.
So we are trying to have some organization, some uniformity in the country, irrespective of the fact that states don't receive the same allocation, they don't have the same economic strength, they don't have the same internally generated revenue, they don't have the same population, the statistics and everything, the disparity and differences. We are looking at a minimum wage for Nigerians, for the Nigerian citizens that cut across the country, irrespective of tribe, states, economy, or whatever. Yes, in terms of their economic strengths, you observe there's differences, but it's up to the state governors to work together with the federal government to see how they can bridge the gap and implement the minimum wage. It is not too much for a Nigerian citizen to ask.
Implement the 70,000.
Yes.
So you actually feel that all the state governors can do that if they decide to?
If they have the political will, they can do it.
So it's not a matter of them not having enough funds to settle those bills?
Yes, if they prudently manage what they receive from the federation accounts every month, all the allocation they get, they can pay the minimum wage. 70,000 is what we're talking about
but when
here.
you started your analysis, if I heard you correctly, you were talking about the fact that they don't earn the same, the IGR not the same, and probably that could be a reason they might not be able to meet up with the 17,000 naira payment. Are you changing your stand?
No, I think to make it more clear,
yes,
they don't have the same IGR, they don't have the same allocation from the federation accounts, but the allocation they get from the federation accounts, if they prudently, judiciously spend the funds, they can pay the minimum wage of 70,000 naira. Now, look at how much is channeled towards political and governance, or the politicians themselves. Look at the envoys. A single political appointee have a lot of special advisors, and that special advisor have his own personal assistants. So much of fats that needs to be cut off. Let's get to the bone. and take off the fats. So if you take off the fats and get to the bone, you will discover that if they judiciously manage, spend the allocation they get from the federation accounts, they can take care of the 70,000 naira minimum wage, right? They can do that confidently. And if there is a shortfall as a result of the state economy,
yes,
they can reach out to the federal government. That's where the federal government comes. The federal government, they are like the fathers, right? They are the father of the nation. They are the mothers of the nation. So if your child, you have, let's say you have 7 children, and they are not meeting up with their budgets, you gave them the first one, you gave 15 naira, you gave 20 naira, and they're not meeting up. It's the responsibility of the father to try to come in, right, to intervene. Then you can call it an intervention fund to help these other states that are not meeting up with the minimum wage. So the bottom line is, if they have the political will, they can implement it.
But why does it look, just on the side now, why does it look like when states have issues with finance, the workers, the civil servants are always the ones who get to bear the brunt of that? Because that's the only time when you hear, oh, we cannot pay salaries. Oh, our purse is not so buoyant at the moment, so we cannot pay salaries. But you have paid some other salaries. And that's why Nigerians always keep pointing at the lawmakers and the political class and all of these advisors you mentioned and all of these things. Why do we always have the civil servants who actually earn less, talking about minimum wage now, some of them, not all of them do, but why are they the ones always having to bear that brunt?
It's a symptom of the society that we find ourselves, and it's also a priority problem. The political class and those in government, most of them don't see the importance of prioritizing the workers of the state of the country.
Let's look at the argument that has been going on with 50,000 naira. Exactly,
that's what I'm saying. It's a priority problem. It's what you prioritize. If you prioritize the workers, the civil servants, that they are the backbone of the economy, they play a vital role, even as it relates to the implementation of government projects. They are the machinery that helps to engineer development in a society. And so you cannot take for granted such critical people in the society, the critical part of the society. So when they are agitating or when they are asking for their rights to be treated fairly, to be paid fairly, to be given a safe working environment, to enhance their productivity and their outputs, so that you can have a functioning society where the workers, the government, everybody is working as a team, you see that such a state will do well and will move forward. But in a situation where politician A or politician B or leader A or leader B does not see the importance of prioritizing the workers, you're going to have a dysfunctional or a collapsed, the pillars will be collapsing.
Okay, now we know that the workers have a union. All right, and if they feel like they've not been prioritized, there's a voice, they have a voice, that's what I'm trying to say. So do you think that the NLC have been doing enough in making sure that these workers will be prioritized in Nigeria?
To be fair, I think the NLC, they're trying their best. There's one thing to have a voice, there's one thing to speak, there's another thing to be heard.
You think they're not being heard? Come on, look at this one that they pulled off.
I would say that the NLC in this particular dispensation, I first started to be fair with them, they're trying, but I think it's just like when you back and you don't bite, in the context of, let me explain that literary term. When you say, oh, we want you to attend to this request that we need, this is for the interest of the workers, and then we're going to go on strike, that's the repercussions of not fulfilling the agreement we have, and the next day you call a strike for a few hours, and then you call it off, and they just look at you that, is this person really serious? Are you just doing it because you want something, or you're doing it for the collective interest of the workers? I remember several years ago in this same country, we used to have an NLC that was very active during the time of President Obasanjo in government. We had an NLC that was very active, that was really, really standing for the workers. To be fair to the leadership of the NLC, I think there is more that needs to be done. the workers of this country, we are faced with challenges, challenging moments that is very serious. It's not even as bad as it was far back when President Obasanjo was president. Now you can see the inflation, you can see the cost of fuel, the cost of food in the market, transportation costs, security challenges, hunger, malnutrition, and all this put together. It calls for improvements in staff and workers' welfare. See, when people talk about workers' welfare, it's not just a statement or a story. It's about prioritizing even your security. A well-fed man is you have taken off a large part of crimes from him. Because your stomach is full, you're thinking about going to rob a bank or going to steal,
So it's only an hungry man that thinks about
Not
that.
necessarily. There are some well-fed people that still steal. But if you look at it generally, when you have taken off people from poverty and you have occupied them usefully, the space and chance and opportunity for them to involve in crimes is minimal. So you can see that even in developed countries. They have a lot of people that are bad elements, but the system has been structured in a way that people are given opportunities to harness their talents and their potentials and to express themselves and to be usefully and gainfully employed, contributing to the development of the society with their talents and their skills. So you can imagine that someone who works, for example, in the United States, and he has 2 jobs. He goes in the morning for his first job, in the evening for what time does he have to go to be thinking about his shop to go and rob? His time is already usefully spent, productively used. So the welfare of workers in Nigeria is very, very important.
Looking at and talking about the NLC not doing enough and they should actually do more. The people do not really trust the labor anymore. A lot of people don't trust the labor union. Even the workers themselves, a lot of them do not really trust these people who are representing them. So in a situation, it's just like Nigerians and Nigerian government. Nigerians do not trust the government. Even if the government comes out with a policy that is supposed to make Nigerians happy, they feel like something is fishy and somebody is trying to siphon some funds here and there. So how will the NLC move forward? How will the NLC do more now when even the people do not even trust them anymore?
Trust is earned. It's not given freely. You don't just meet someone and tell the person to trust you. People say a lot, trust me, I'll do this. Actions speak louder than words. If you want someone to trust you, your action will be a proof. The ID card of trust is action. And when you look at our society, there is this gap, mistrust between the governed and the governments, between the leaders and the led, between you talk about the NLC, the leadership of the NLC, or the labor leaders and the citizens of the country. Over time, people have seen, when you do something repeatedly, and then you break trust, you don't fulfill promises, you don't keep your promises, you lose trust. It's a natural law. It's something that happens naturally. You can even take it to the home, to the family. A husband that keeps telling his wife, I'm going to give you money for your hair.
Is this one of the actions that would make the people, that's the workers now, get to trust labor more? Remember, this is a plus for the workers.
It will take much more than that, because when people have lived under a mistrust system and have been deprived and have been denied and have been deprived of responsible actions that will take them, that will look at their needs, that will attend to their needs and answers to their questions. Over time, they've been deprived of these answers. It will take a lot to build the trust in our society. It will take a lot. And when the leaders or those people, the labor leaders, realize that there is more, to whom more is given, more is expected, to build that trust. And it falls back on leadership as well. If you want to be a very good leader, or you want to be a leader that wants to make a difference, you have to build trust in a system. Building trust in a system will help to win the people. Not like you are completely perfect, or everything you say is going to be perfect. No, but the people will have some confidence. You will build confidence in a system that yes, this person can deliver. He might not deliver to the fullest, but he's going to try, right? So that's
all
just
right. Thank you so much for your thoughts on that one. The labor union and the government keeps going back and forth, but we are happy that the president has finally announced the minimum wage, and I know that the core members I was mentioning yesterday will definitely be excited. But that's for the ones who are still serving. Imagine passing out at this time when the minimum wage has just been increased. All right, let's look at the next story now. The National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has shut down a bakery for using unfortified sugar and banned bromate in Sokoto State. And the NAFDAC state coordinator, Mr. Garba Adamu, told newsmen on Friday that the bakery was detected during a special raid by agency officials. In his words, and I quote, "We discovered that the bakery was using saccharin and unregistered foreign sugar as sweetener, along with banned bromate in their productions." The items were seized for destruction and the bakery shut down until it complies with regulations and directives, he said. Adamo emphasized that only fortified registered sugar containing vitamin A with micronutrients and other vitamins is allowed to be sold and consumed in Nigeria. This is not just a crime by the bakery now. If you look at the last statement where he said only this kind of sugar is allowed to be sold in Nigeria. So where did these guys get the wrong sugar, the foreign banned sugar that they're using in their bakery in the first place?
Let me start with Shakespeare. To be or not to be? That's the question. Now, I know why. I know. No, wait. I'm going to that, but I want to start with Shakespeare's quote.
Okay.
To be or not to be? That's the question. Why am I starting with that quote?
Why?
Many Nigerians are being sugarized to death. Now, when you talk about food, it's a basic, important necessity for survival. And I want to use the opportunity to call on the authorities to do more, especially as it relates to food, drugs, water. See, sometimes when I walk the streets, personally, I find it difficult to buy roadside breads because I don't trust them. We're talking about trust here. You know, it falls to trust. Why don't I trust them? Because when you see some of the practices that most Nigerians, I say most because we have responsible Nigerians, diligent Nigerians, Nigerians with integrity, trusted and trustable Nigerians that you can trust with things, but they are the bad eggs in the system that are defacing the system, giving the system a bad brand, a bad image, a bad representation, becoming toxic to the system, making it difficult for people to survive, the health of the citizens, putting it at risk. You see, this bromate you're talking about is very deadly to the system. Now, if from the reports, you talk about people using sugar, sugar that is not healthy. That's why I'm using this statement. Many Nigerians are sugarized to their early graves. And many of them don't know. You see, awareness is power. Awareness is important. Awareness is a medication. Because when you are aware, you solve a huge part of that problem will be dealt with. Because you are aware. If you are aware that you're eating poison, the first solution is you stop eating the poison. To a large extent, you have rescued yourself from early deaths. Most people are dying and they will say it's their village people. They won't know that it's the food they are eating. I learned the other day in the markets, because I go to the markets. People are putting chemicals in palm oil to multiply the palm oil. You know, people are ripening. I bought plantain once in the market, and I knew that something is wrong with the plantain. I don't need to be a food scientist. I don't need to take the plantain to the lab to test for the properties of the plantain. I don't need to check the plantain's health in the laboratory. The plantain was terrible. People are using chemicals to ripen plantain, to ripen bananas, to ripen oranges.
It is very pathetic, Dema. Not just that. It seems like a lot of things in the market, right? And you know that we are the ones doing this to ourselves. Because if you talk about awareness, some of the people doing these things are aware that what they're doing is wrong.
Let me say this. Yes, very correct. Some of them, especially some of the sellers,
of course,
they are aware, but there's an awareness, wickedness, virus. Yes, you are aware that you are causing harm to someone,
yes,
and you are intentional, deliberate, doing it, packaging it, because you want to maximize profit. That's not even maximizing of profit. That is exploitation.
True.
And causing harm. And you can just classify it as wickedness, high propensity of wickedness, because you are selling. So you see, the whole thing comes to laws.
Before we get to laws now, let's also look at the Nigerians who are aware of some of these things. Now, I'm not talking about the sellers now, but the consumers. Have you heard anybody tell you that they kill African man? Have you heard anybody tell you, leave that one, we've been eating this thing since? Have you heard an elderly person tell you, before you were born, I've been eating this thing and I'm not dead, nothing is wrong with me? So, aside awareness, even when we are aware, I remember hosting a health program, right? And a lot of times on that health program, I always try to debunk some of the beliefs that Nigerians have, like using breast milk in your eyes to clean the eyes, like using urine, sugar solution, and all of those things are deadly and they can destroy your eyes, your sight, you know. But some Nigerians, when you tell them this, even with facts, even if you're an expert, they'll be like, I've been doing it. Like, that's what our fathers were doing, and that's why we are the way we are, to even give birth to you, that you are like this. So some Nigerians are even aware that some of these things we're consuming is not good for us. But it's just this thing of, what do you think is the problem? Because awareness now, in this case, doesn't come to play.
You know, one of the challenges of our developments as a country, as a development economist, I can tell you boldly, factually, clearly, with all authority, that is unhealthy cultural practices that have stalled our developments. This ideology or this mentality or this backward thinking of "dirty they kill African man," for example, or every little thing we transfer it to our village people. Now we're talking about somebody, a factory producing bread with bromate chemicals,
yes,
and risking the health of those citizens that are consumers. Maybe causing them lung problem or cancer problem or liver problem or kidney problem, and maybe some of them will die because we don't do the research. You might do a research on the consumers over a period of time, and you discover that 70% of the cases will end up in the hospital, and some will end up in critical situations because their vital organs have been hampered, tampered, and damaged as a result of the consumption of toxic and poisonous substances that is not good for their health and well-being. Right? So they will end up dying, and people will say it's their village people or people from the village. I'm not saying village people are not working, but
they are working.
Yes, I'm not going into that. And then they will transfer the blame to the village people. Now let's talk about the appetite of people who, they say the cheap thing. Most Nigerians, they like things that are cheap and easy. They like the easy way out. They don't want something that is right and do it rightly. I was in the market the other day, and some young university students were coming to buy fresh tomatoes. And you know, these fresh tomatoes is expensive now. Fresh pepper is expensive as well. And for me, because of my awareness, the level of my awareness and exposure as it relates to health, I went to the seller of the tomatoes. I said, give me the healthy looking ones. I took my time to select the healthy ones. While I was there, a close, keen observation, some other people came to buy tomatoes. They were going for the ones that were bad, that were spoiled. And the man was packing it for them, saying, I will give you much cheaper of it. I looked at them, I felt pity for them, because they are not, maybe they are aware, but because of their appetite for cheap things, they are damaging and causing health risks to them.
Some of them are food sellers.
Good.
So some of these food sellers, that's what they do to reduce costs of production. They go to get these really bad tomatoes. That's one reason they actually do that.
And so when you look at the roots of this problem, or you look at the DNA of the problem, why is it that Nigerians, they are aware that this thing is bad, but you're quoting it? We manage a lot in this country. You know, we manage. You see, when something is getting bad, you treat it, you deal with it, you attend to it. You don't manage something bad. You attend to the problem. You don't manage the problem. So many Nigerians have turned themselves to problem management experts. You see that something is bad, the food is bad, the fruit is bad, the thing you're selling is not good. Then you are managing it until it gets really bad. So that's the problem. So you look at the DNA of this, it comes to the appetite of many Nigerians for cheap and easy way out. We just want the cheap things, the easy way out. We don't want to do it rightly.
But isn't that also a part of isn't the economic hardship also a part of the...
It's not just the deprivation of you not having money or house or food. Poverty has an effect. It affects the minds. It affects the mind. It kind of makes one, it traps one into a hole or into a web where the sense of responsibility seems to be lost. Now, yes, somebody can be poor, but yet you know what is right and you know what is good. You can use little to achieve much. Sometimes you don't need much to achieve much. You can use little to achieve much. When I was growing up as a young boy, my mother always tells sound the alarm. She always reminds us that you might have one shirt and one short knicker, but make sure the one shirt and one short knicker you have, you clean it, you keep it neat, you maintain it. She tells us that it's not so much about the clothes you have. If you can't maintain the little you have, you will have a warehouse filled with clothes. They're all going to be a mess. You might not have much money to buy good tomatoes in the market, but you have a little. What do you do with a little? That is being influenced by your mindset. You know, the mindset you have influences your actions, and action speaks louder than words. It's as true as it has ever been. So, poverty has a way of shaping the mind of people, influencing their actions to, oh, let me manage, give me this small one, even the little they have. Use the little well. Don't wait for much, but the little you have, use it well.
Do you think we should have more empowerment programs so that we can empower more people out of poverty?
The first empowerment we need is the empowerment of the mind, and I'm very happy that's what we're doing right now. There might be somebody that's listening that is mentally empowered, and the transformation and change that we want to see in our society break our minds from these unhealthy cultural practices that have trapped us and kept us in a cycle of continuous poverty. Then we have started the journey of development.
All right, let's look at our next story now. In a bid to empower youths for self-employment, talking about empowerment, and promote technical and entrepreneurship skills, the federal government will train over 500,000 youths across the country on robotics and artificial intelligence. The senior special assistant to the president on technical, vocational, and entrepreneurship education, Abiola Orogundade, actually disclosed this in Abuja while distributing laptops and online course licenses to about 50 students of Government Science and Technical College Area 3 Gariki, Abuja. And she noted that the initiative, which is with the approval of the National Board for Technical Education and in concert with the private sector, is to upskill the skill of the nation's workforce from the current level of 15% to 50% as part of the mandate of our office by the president. And the presidential aide said the distribution of the laptops and online courses, essentially in robotics and artificial intelligence, was the pilot scheme under the initiative, adding that the plans were afoot to extend the program to all the parts of the country. Now, under the scheme, she said that the students are expected to learn the basic skills of artificial intelligence and robotics online for about 6 months. Just yesterday, we were talking about the IT, in fact, Nigeria's IT space, and the fact that there's this lacuna that has been there for a long time, actually, which we could actually, take advantage of and make a lot of money from, because when we talk about IT, people are cashing out of it. Countries are cashing out of it. You have a particular company have an issue, technical issue in one country, and Nigeria is affected. So what are your thoughts on this particular move?
Very commendable. One of the things socio-political analysts and public analysts should be doing is we should always commend the right steps taken. Now, here's what I want to say. It's a good and welcome development, and I really commend the government official that bringing up this project, empowering 500,000 Nigerian youths. Now, the big question, the $1,000,000 question or the ₦1,000,000 question is, how do you identify those 500,000 Nigerian youths? What measures are put in place? What are the requirements? Who qualifies to be selected to be among the 500,000 youths to get empowered with those tech trainings? The world technology is very vital to societal developments. And of course, you can see even recently with the global computer challenges that's affecting aviation, flights are being cancelled across many countries. Businesses are being grounded as a result of just one click or one error in the tech space. Lives are cut off. Businesses are shut down. So everything comes to a standstill. So you can see that technology has become so critical to every society. And as Nigerians, we need to catch up. The train has left the station for a very long time. We are still in the station. We've not even moved. The train has not even taken off. We're still there. So it's a welcome development because many countries they're doing a lot with tech. And one thing I can tell you is that Nigerians are hardworking. Many Nigerians are hardworking. Many young people are diligent and hardworking. They just need the opportunity and empowerment to harness that talent and potential they have. And you can see many young people, even without support from government or organizations, they are doing quite a lot with tech. Apart from the bad eggs that are bringing bad image and bad brand to our country, we cannot take off the place and role and contribution of diligent and hardworking Nigerian youths. Now, many projects start very well in Nigeria. The implementation becomes challenging. Now, starting a project is one thing, is one part of it. But trying to ensure that the right persons are gotten into the scheme, like those who need it, those who might not have a connection anywhere, they don't need to pay money anywhere, they should make it transparent so that a poor person, I don't like calling people poor because everybody is rich, but just to give a better explanation, right in the village, who has this enthusiasm and interest for tech, who is passionate and have this connection with tech, can have opportunity to benefit from the scheme. He doesn't need a politician or he doesn't need A, B, C, D, and E for him to qualify for that. Make it open. Very important. There should be feedback. You should evaluate the people that are benefited from this scheme. In the next 3 to 6 months, what happens to them? How are they using these tech skills? We've given them startup, and now they have gotten laptops, and we've trained them. How do we try to work with them as a team to make sure that they are delivering on what they have learned? They are useful to themselves, they are useful to society, they are useful to the country. So there's no follow-up. And most times some projects are launched, and they are used as it becomes a white elephant project that is used to give out to political friends and families. But thank God, this is 500,000 people, so that's a lot. So I'm very happy for it.
All right, let's take some time off now. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, the conversation is getting interesting. Please stay with us.
Vote for government, but we not get good governance
at all.
Roads so no day, light usa, the infrastructure it can't turn to be forbidden fruit for the people.
Corruption, well everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay. Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
No vex. Now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Now my body network there.
I can't hear you. Network is bad.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. I will call you back.
That behavior not good now.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently, make Nigeria for better.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Atn Sunday Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract where we do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap him.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer in our house, I could pay that one. You remember say me I tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, they pay you money now. We don't they beg caretaker? Why would they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time? Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Atn Sunday Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Corruption not in my country.
Driver, why you just dey jack us up and down like this now?
I hope nobody carry belle.
Why you ask?
Because this road where they see so, it no guarantee safe delivery. We just dey vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Road so e no dey. Light inside. The infrastructure it can't turn to be forbidden fruit for the city.
Corruption, well everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
No vex. Now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Now my body network there.
I can't hear you. Network is bad.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. We call you back.
Their behavior not good now.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently, make Nigeria for better.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Atn Sunday Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract where we do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap am.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer na house suppose pay that one. You remember say me and tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy na.
Okay, they pay you money now. We don't they beg caretaker? We they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time. Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure?
Sure.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Atn Sunday Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic.
Welcome back. It's still Atn Sunday, this very beautiful Sunday morning right here in Port Harcourt. We still have our guest in the studio with us, Dema Emmanuel George, who has been letting us know what his thoughts are on the various stories that we have been discussing. Last story talked about was steps that the government is taking to make sure that our tech goes to another level, to make sure that we, utilize our IT space. But now we look at the next story that's talking about the federal government talking about tech, still around that. Federal government has fined Meta Platforms $220 million after investigations showed data sharing on its Facebook and WhatsApp platform violated local consumer data protection and privacy laws. Now, Dr. Adamu Abdullahi, Acting Chief Executive Officer of Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, he said this on Friday. He said Meta appropriated the data of Nigerian users on its platforms without their consent. They abused its market dominance and meted out discriminatory and disparate treatment on Nigerians compared with other jurisdictions with similar regulations. Now, Meta did not immediately comment, but the FCCPC said in a statement that the company had provided some documents and have retained counsels who have met and engaged with the agency. The FCCPC chief, Abdullahi, said the investigations were jointly held with Nigeria's Data Protection Commission and spanned over 38 months. The investigations found Meta policies don't allow users the option or even the opportunity to self-determine or withhold consent to the gathering, use and sharing of personal data. Abdullahi made the statement. So they have accused Meta that the people do not even have, the users do not even have consent. That's the consent part where you get to say, okay, yes, you can. That's for gathering the use and sharing of personal data. And this actually breaches our constitution. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's a welcome development for the agency trying to call them to order. and to ensure that the data of Nigerians are protected, because we must protect people's privacy. You don't want your privacy to be, shared without your consent. Of course, companies like that, Meta, they gather a lot of data, which they sell out to, companies who want to use it for their marketing and all that purpose. If they have violated the laws, they should be sanctioned to serve as a deterrent, so that they will also understand that because we are Nigerians does not mean that you can just treat us as third-class country. I don't see Nigeria as a third world country. I always see our actions. It is our actions and the leaders that we have that have dragged us to bad light in the international community. So
that's what it takes. That's actually what it takes.
Yes, of course.
Governance and actions. That's
true, but we as a country, we are not a third world country. We are a people that is blessed. We are just yet to harness our potentials. There's nothing third in our potentials. We have so much resources, both human and material resources. And that is why we need to get our leadership right. And when I'm talking about leadership, I'm not just looking at those at the top. Right in our families, in our communities, in our local areas, in our villages, we should get a structured leadership. And who are those leaders? It is the ordinary people on the streets that you can empower, you can build, you can raise, you can develop them, and they'll begin to make a change. How many offices do government officials occupy? So we have over 200 million Nigerians. So they cannot be everywhere, but you have people there in the family. They can provide leadership. So the action taken by the agency to call Meta, Facebook to order is a welcome development.
All right, but let's look at ourselves now. How much do we even protect our own data? I remember the other time, I can't remember which of the companies now was in the news in Nigeria, where they were dragged for not protecting the data. These are not foreign companies now. That our data is not being protected. Our data is not secure. So for our own selves, how much do we even take these steps to make sure that we're even making sure, that we're keeping our constitution and following and abiding by the laws that are provided?
We have personal individual responsibility in protecting our data. If you see there are some sites or some things, they will send you a message. Do you consent to this? The problem with many Nigerians is that we are not patient to read. You just go to the consent, click. We don't want to waste time. But when you read through what has been written, do you accept? Part of the little clause might be, we might share your data to third-party users and all that.
Have you ever seen such a thing?
Yes, I have. I have done some applications, for example, job applications, and then they will send a long write-up, terms and condition. I will take my time to read through. Sometimes it might be a page or more than. I will read through the terms and condition. Then if I'm disposed, if I feel it is right for me to accept, I click accept. If I don't want, I put decline and I just scroll through.
A lot of us don't do that. So why are we so much in a hurry when we do things? Because a lot of Nigerians do not. If you have 10 people in this studio now, and you ask them, how many of you really read through? Even if someone is trying to put you through, say, accept, next word, agree, and you keep going.
It's same thing with even on social media. So people just, anybody that send them a friend request, they click accept. And they don't look through, scan through the person's profile. It's the same thing in the market. When people go to buy something, they don't check the expiry dates. I'm one person, right from my childhood, I will first of all, when I'm buying something, as I'm pricing, I'm looking at the bottom of if it is a milk container, I'm looking at the expiry dates. I'm reading some things, some write-up. Those things are important. Some people go to the market, they buy something, especially food, packaged food, that can expire. They don't read through to see, has this food expired? Is it expired? Is it good for consumption? They just pick it up. You buy a drug or a medication. There's a small piece of paper, maybe a malaria drug. Sometimes you can bring out the paper and read through.
Is it an awareness problem?
It's an awareness problem. Many of them don't see it as important. It's a small thing to them. But there are small things that causes big things to happen. When you ignore the small foxes and you ignore the small things, it's going to lead to big things. When you understand those small things, but they are very vital and important. And now when you pick up, you're buying a product, a packaged food or a canned food, it is your responsibility to read through. You don't need to go to Harvard or Oxford to, pick up the pack and go to the back of it, read through. When they put terms and conditions, read through. Don't put your signature to every document without reading through. It's the same thing when you're buying something, because what you put in your mouth goes to your stomach. It's difficult to bring it out from your stomach. So life is important. So I'm using this opportunity to create that awareness. That if you're listening, if you go to the market, to a supermarket, to a shopping mall, you want to buy a product, a canned food, a packaged food, please take your time. It might be 5 minutes of your time, but it is important that you read through, check the expiry date, check that the food is still good for consumption. Don't throw everything into your mouth without checking whether it is worth entering your mouth.
All right, we'll look at our next story now. This story is coming from the National Assembly, and it says, employ more female engineers, reps to NRC. Employ more female engineers, reps to NRC. Can we get the details of this story, please? The House of Representatives has announced or advised the Nigerian Railway Corporation to consider employing more female engineers to foster workplace inclusiveness. Now, the chairman of the House Committee on Land Transport, Honorable Blessing Onyechi, made this recommendation during the committee's oversight tour of railway facilities along the Lagos corridor. Now, Ono, daughter of the 7th Assembly Senate President, Senator David Mack, who represents the Otukpo Federal Constituency, said the employment of women engineers would give the nation's oldest public corporation the needed public image as a truly inclusive workplace. Now, Ono was accompanied by committee members, including Honorable Afolabi Afuakbe, that's the Abeokuta South Federal Constituency, and Honorable Oluwatoyin Fainka, former Lagos Special Advisor to the Governor on Transportation, amongst others. And yes, looking at this particular story now, back to the heading of this story. Okay, you'd find out that it's actually talking about, like I said, the National Assembly, and the fact that the reps have told NRC to employ more female engineers. Can we have more female engineers? You know, we actually have a lot of female engineers in Nigeria, especially now, compared to the past.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good thing. We need gender equality, and I advocate for that because women play a very vital role in societal development. You cannot take away the girl child or a woman in a society. In fact, a society without women, imagine, it's going to be boring. It's going to be terrible. You can't live in such a society. The society is meaningful, is lively, is fruitful when you have a woman. Not just a woman occupying space, a woman empowered to be useful in that society. A woman given the opportunity to function, to survive, to thrive, to not just to be seen, to be heard. Now, while they are clamoring for workplace inclusivity or workplace inclusiveness, I will also say they should also look at workplace organization, development, inclusiveness. The workplace should be made an environment where workers' welfare should also be treated as an important priority. We are not just going to talk about workplace inclusivity or inclusiveness. Let's have more women. Let's have a gender balance, more women and men. Beautiful. That's so lovely. It makes the work environment spectacular. When you have more female engineers given opportunity to work. But we should also make the railway is talking about. We should make the environment conducive, not hostile, not toxic, friendly. We should make the environment organized. There should be organization, right, in the workplace environment. And also, we should also look at the welfare of the workers. You know, Home Guard does not ask for your gender certificates before it comes to you. Home Guard does not ask for your whether you're a man or a woman. Every single human being, so far as you are alive, once you wake up in the morning, your stomach will ring a bell that you're hungry. You need to feed. So, workplace inclusiveness is important. It is also as important as workplace development, organization, and welfare. So let us balance it. So we have what economists call equilibrium. Let's put it in an equilibrium state where there's no disequilibrium, where you have a functioning state, where the workers' welfare is treated as important, organization is treated as important, the organizational culture is also seen as important, and also how to make the environment where ideas can be shared and people can, grow a healthy environment.
Talking about gender now, do you think that from reports, it looks like there's still traces of this gender thing, especially when careers are concerned, especially unique careers or careers that usually have more men, like the surveyors. We have more men in that. I think I know someone who was like the only female in the whole department on that particular course during her time. And then we also have like the engineering space where he had to say, okay, can you employ, the reps had to tell the NRC, can you employ more females now? So do you think we can ever get to that point where it will just be, the way a lot of people have been clamoring for it to be, the gender equality thing with careers?
Well, I would say that we can make progress in the aspect of gender balance and gender equality, giving opportunities for women. I am an advocate, a strong advocate for the girl side and for women, and also for the boy side, because I cannot forget or ignore the boy side. But if you look at the biology of the man and the woman, the men are, the physical structure. There are some tasking and very demanding jobs that most women might not like to do, or might not, their structure might not really be that. With all respect to women, and with all, for example, there's some construction jobs that you hardly see some women do, because it's physically demanding. And if you even bring it to the house, and there are some certain tasks, they'll say, he's a man, let him do it. It's not a gender bias. It's because the biology of the man, the more physical structure. There are women that are very strong.
Yeah,
there are even some women that are stronger than some men. And we've seen cases of domestic violence where some women beat their husbands. So that's very terrible. That's bad. But when you look at the biology of a man and a woman, the man's structure, physically, is much, stronger than that of the woman. So in terms of career, the career space should be open. If a woman says she wants to be a pilot, she should be given the opportunity to fly. She can do it.
We're talking about times when, if these women are trained in that job, it means that these are experts. These are qualified experts. So we're also talking about cases or times when they would not be employed, probably because of their gender.
I am totally against that. Beyond the biology aspects, where you have to look at the differences between a man and a woman, because we cannot deny the fact that there are differences between a man and a woman. It is not despising any of them, but it is understanding biology and understanding the fact. But in cases where people are discriminated against because they are women and given some opportunities that they are qualified for, that's totally wrong. When someone is qualified for a job, shouldn't be discriminated based on his gender or his race or his tribe or his ethnicity or whatever you want to tie to the person. The most important thing is the person qualified for the job? Is the person can the person do the job? Not based on because he's a man or a woman and then he can't do it. If it is something that involves a lot of physical carrying heavy equipments or heavy materials, and you know that you give a woman to do that and then it affects her or something, you know, that's different. So there should be no discrimination.
That should actually be looked into. This conversation, even though not entirely related, but it brought my attention to, or brought my mind back to when I saw, there was a particular time I had to do a research when I was anchoring a women's show. I had to do a research on the ladies who were complaining about houses not being given to them for rentage because they're ladies. So you would hear, you must bring a man. I cannot have a conversation with a woman. So go and bring a man first. Secondly, you hear things like, oh, you might bring men home. Thirdly, you hear excuses like, how would you pay? You're a woman. What do you even earn? Do you understand? So because you're a woman, you're already seen as someone who doesn't earn much, you know, and someone who might not be able to pay for her own rent. And all of these bias that comes with this gender, especially when it has to do with renting a house. And I'm bringing this up because you made mention of being an advocate for, and I know you do a lot of speaking and, you know, things like this. So that's why I'm actually bringing it. Have you ever experienced or had a lady during your talks? Have you ever had a lady who has complained about this particular case?
Now, I've had cases of people that have complained, women that have complained of discrimination in different aspects beyond housing and many other aspects, even in a platform where we do cases of domestic violence, because I've done a lot of advocacy for domestic violence. The reality is that if a man is, or someone is discriminating against a woman in terms of housing, trying to look her down or trying to despise her based on her financial capacity, that person is myopic. Because if
based on his thoughts of her financial capacity,
the person is myopic. The fact is that a lot more needs to be done. Because
what should be done?
First, you know, you need to ask yourself what gives rise to these actions. You know, the cultural system. In so many areas, there are some cultures where women are not really seen as important.
True.
So they're not given value for who they are and what they can do, and what they can contribute. So the cultural system, some cultures, you know, I'm just looking at the cultural system. Some cultures have influenced these actions of people, trying to see, for example, a woman, if her husband dies, they try to take all the properties from her and they want to throw her out of the house. These are wrong practices that are dragging us backward. I'm not saying that the women should be, you know, they shouldn't respect the system or the structure of orderliness. But I'm trying to say that we should, as a society, grow out of the shell of wrong cultural practices that limit the potentials of women and men, the both side. Because I don't like to be caught within the divide of pro this, anti this. I like to see it from a humanistic point of view and perspective, right? So while we are clamoring for women to be given fairness, we should also look at the men. They should be given fairness to. So in other words, in the society, development should be given to people, not segmentation or discrimination or stigmatization or classifying people into boxes of M and F, male or female. Thank God our society is not wrapped with this craziness in the Western societies where they even have gender neutral. Somebody will just come up and tell you he has no gender. You have to stick to something. You have to stand on something. It's either you stand for something or you fall for everything. It's either you're a man or you're a woman. So you must fall within, you must be somewhere. You must be in a box. You cannot wake up one morning and say that today you want to be identified as a stick. You are not a stick because you didn't come out from a stick. So in our society, at least,
no matter what you tell yourself,
yes,
you can't
even though you pretend to be a stick, even if you dance or think you are a stick, walk like a stick, sing like a stick, you are still that person you are. You are just living in self-denial. So people should be treated with respect irrespective irrespective of the agenda.
Yes, thank you so much for your thoughts on that one. Let's look at the next story now. The next story on our table, aside that, we have this one talking about the Nigeria's economy. The Central Bank of Nigeria has said in Abuja on Friday that its monetary policies and actions have stimulated the growth and stability of the nation's economy. The CBN governor, Mr. Olayemi Kadoso, actually said this during an engagement with Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions. And according to him, given the positive indicators, Nigerians were in for better days. In his words, and I quote, the spread between official and BDC rates had narrowed significantly from 162.62 naira in January to 47 naira in June, indicating successful price discovery, increased market efficiency, and reduced arbitrage opportunities. This is the CBN saying, with our policies and the steps that we have taken, Nigeria's economy right now is looking onto the brighter side. It's already taking steps towards the brighter side. But the common man seeing this report is like, okay, can you tell me how that has changed the price of Gary in the market? Or can you tell me how that has made anything different regarding prices of goods? Because that's how the common man is affected. If they want to know if the country is getting better, is when the prices of goods and services are affected. If nothing is affected yet, they don't know what you're talking about. So please, let's look at this statement by the CBN.
Optimism is very good. I think the CBN governor is optimistic. There's nothing wrong being an optimist. I am an optimist. I like to see things from the brighter side of life. I don't like negativity to becloud or cloud my sense of reasoning. I don't like to sip the tea of negativity and eat the bread of negativity. But optimism without concrete action is like a packaged salt without taste. It's meaningless. You are an optimist. The economy...
But he said it's on the policies that they have taken.
That's what I'm saying.
So he's not just, you know, being optimistic. He's working on their policies.
His optimistic view is based on the efforts the CBN has put in place.
Feels the CBN have put
that they have put in place. That the economy is stable. How stable is the stability he's talking about? Is a question that he's best to answer. With respect, I would say the CBN are actually doing their best. They are trying, but is the best enough? We have to be truthful to ourselves. If we say our economy, we are much better, how much better are we from where we are coming from? Now, let's look at energy prices. Let's look at food prices. Let's look at security. Let's look at critical sectors of our economy. Let's look at the agricultural sector. Let's look at our exports. What are we exporting, for goodness sake, in this 21st century? What are we exporting? A country with over 200 million people, arable lands. We have a lot of rivers. We have a lot of marine and a lot of tourism potentials. How prudent are we managing our resources? The truth is we have failed to manage our resources very well for the betterment and improvement of the citizens of Nigeria.
Sometimes we get reports from the MBS or other parastatals talking about the Naira appreciating against the dollar. Or sometimes we hear that, oh, the Naira has, you know, is now strengthened and all of those topics and stories. But when we look at the reality of things, it doesn't correspond sometimes. I remember the other time I had to even ask you to please explain this report, given that you're an economist and you explained that, oh, it might just have been there, the funds might be available, but maybe we haven't utilized it and that's why we have not. So I just want to ask again, Nigerians want to know, is it possible for the economy to be in this light that the CBN has placed it, and yet the prices of goods not being affected? And now asking if it's possible economically, or as an economist now, is it looking at the trends of things and all of that? Is it possible?
It is possible to change the present economic nightmare in Nigeria. It is possible. It is possible to bring down the cost, the energy costs. It is possible. It is possible to bring down the food prices in the market. It is possible. The question is, how do we make possible.
So now the question, before you go to how to make it possible, steps that we should take, right? Back to that question now, maybe you didn't get it clearly. If we're saying is it possible for the naira to appreciate, right?
Very possible.
And yet, no, I'm not saying is it possible for the naira to appreciate, just listen. Is it possible that the naira is appreciating and yet prices of goods are not affected? Could that ever be a possibility? That's the question.
Well, it depends on how you connect policy to, how you translate policy to impacting the people, making it real for the people, making the people connect to the policies and you know, let me just use this example. You got your revenue at the end of the month, you got your slip, and you saw that you're earning more, but yet you're not seeing the evidence of the money you are earning because you can't buy anything with it. So on paper, we can even brag that we are one of the largest economies in Africa, but in the market, the people who should be testifying of being in a country that is one of the largest exporters of crude oil, they are not seeing it translate to them. It means that there is no flow. Economic policies are not static. There should be a connection with the people. Every economic policy that will engineer development in a society must connect to the people. If you have power supply, electric wire, and a light bulb, and there's no flow of power, yes, you have the light bulb, but there's no light. There's no power because the power suppliers have not switched it on. It's as good as you say, oh, but there is power in the power supply center, but you're not seeing the light bulb on because it needs to flow in. So economic policies should connect to the people. So we hear so much about the GDP, about what the stability, the appreciation of the naira, and this and that. How do we connect these things so that the people can be incorporated into it and it can transform their lives and they can be the people to even blow the trumpets? They are the ones that will even say, yes, our economy is doing well. It is not about those at the top saying it alone, because economic policies are not meant for those at the top. Economic policies are meant for the citizens of a country. And every economic policy that will engineer development for the people and transform society must connect to the people. It must be channeled. It must flow to the man in the village, to the man in an island community that does not have access to clean water, to the woman who trek hundreds of kilometers to access the nearest hospital to reduce the mortality rate and the child mortality rates, to the market woman who cannot transport her cassava to the market to sell because of bad roads and the roads filled with potholes everywhere, to make sure that transportation and logistics is taken care of. That is translating economic policies to the people. So people can talk so much about economy, we are doing well, we are doing well. There is self-appraisal, there is people appraisal, there is government praising themselves, there is government evaluating themselves, and there is the people of the country evaluating the government, because they are the direct beneficiaries and recipients of the economic policies that the government are bringing out, are putting in place.
All right, let's see how this will come to play. If the economy is actually as brilliant, or should I say smiling, or actually looking at the brighter side like the CBN governor has stated, let's actually begin to see it affect our society. Let's begin to see it in the changes in our society. Let's begin to see the hardship reduce. Because even with the steps that the government has been taking, the FG has been taking, we're still seeing those cases of hardship here and there. The next story now is talking about security. This is another area of concern in Nigeria, and that is why the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has assured Nigerians of improved security measures, stating that crime rates are declining across the country. This comes days before a planned nationwide protest against insecurity and food crisis. Now, Egbetokun spoke after a routine security meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the State House in Abuja, where he presented security briefs and received commendations from the president. He further disclosed that President Tinubu charged the various security formations to improve their synergy in securing the country. The police chief attributed the decline in crime rates to effective synergy and strategies implemented by security agencies. And he vowed to sustain efforts maintain the downward trend in crime rates in Nigeria. I would like to look at the very first paragraph of that story now that, you know, was talking about security, the state of security in Nigeria and what exactly it is now. You know, they also mentioned the protest that some Nigerians are looking at getting into. I don't know if you are aware, but the talks have been everywhere on social media. And you know, Nigerians, once they are ready for something, they go for it, especially as long as protest is concerned now, right? So talks have been on concerning that, and now the security operatives are saying that, come on, this is it. We are going to make sure that on our part, security is not a problem in Nigeria, and that would definitely not be a reason for people to go out there and protest. Your thoughts on the security operatives' actions, the moves, the insecurities we have been having recorded? What he's saying is not looking like what the media is saying to us. What are your thoughts concerning that?
I would say that the security agencies are doing their best. They're trying.
Would you say they are doing their best, or you say they are trying?
I would say they are doing their best to some extent.
Because your best is different from taking steps towards the direction.
They are doing their best to some extent. But the truth of the matter is more still need to be done.
That means their best
because
is
the
not enough.
approach they are using, they need to look at other approach or other steps they can take. One, when we are talking about security, there's no country in the world that does not have security challenges. We just saw what happened in the United States of America some few days ago. With all the security apparatus and machinery and intelligence they had, a 20-year-old almost took the life of one of the most powerful men in the world. The question the security authorities should be asking is, these measures that we're putting in place, how do we reevaluate, you know, how do we look at the root causes, right? It's easy to say that there's an improvement in security, but is that sustainable security? What we should be looking at is sustainable security. Not just, oh, there's no bank robbery today, there's no kidnapping today, and so we've done well. Fine, that's beautiful. But sustainable security must involve a well-planned, long-term security approach. And to sustain security in any country, you must ensure that you reduce poverty. And you reduce poverty, significantly reduce poverty. Not just the absence of money, but poverty of the mind. Reduction of poverty. There is a lot of poverty-driven criminality. So, sustaining security is very important. Building on security, creating an atmosphere that is secured, you must look at sustaining it, and even continuously improving. Security is not a one step, you know, I've arrived. You don't just arrive in security. It's a process. You must go through that process. Look at cases of young people that are involved in crimes. Why are they getting involved in crimes? This security is a field of research. Why is it that youths in this area, 60% of them are involved in crimes? What is driving them? Now, you work with the other economists and other development partners, and you discover that maybe there's no company in that area, and the youths of that particular community, the only thing that they can fall on is crime. So you now work with the government to ensure that you provide social infrastructure. When there is social justice, you will build your security, you will strengthen your security. And when there is social justice, you ensure you sustain the security. Look at the welfare of the police.
But are we really doing enough research? before we go to welfare, you know, welfare is another broad topic.
Yes.
We've been clamoring for that. We'll definitely talk about that. But research-wise, since you've mentioned that, do you see our security operatives doing enough research to actually even find out, like you have explained, the cause before we start talking about the measures that should be taken to curb the menace?
I think our research is not really high in terms of looking at the problems in our country. Yes, respect to our academics. I've even written a research paper on cyber security. But there should be a partnership with the security institutions and the academic community. They should be working together. The governments, the academic community, the security institutions, let's tripartite, tripod stand. They should be working together. Now let me give you a practical example. Let's look at this one chance kidnapping and all that is going on. Now when you look at a particular area that you have mapped out, that this is becoming notorious in this area, the security institutions and the academic, they can do a research and study the trends and the flow. What is really leading these people into this watch? What are the measures they are taking, and what is driving them to it? How do they recruit? You see people, husband and wife, they are partners in the one chance criminality. What will lead a husband and his wife? Now,
what
if it
happens with the children in such a scenario?
Check their history. Have they worked in some institutions, in some organizations? What reports do they have about them? And now that they are into this one chance, what kind of business have they been doing before? You know, by the time you begin to do research on these issues, you cannot completely get the data, but to some extent you will get good vital information that will help the security institutions not to wait for a crime to act, but to act before even a crime takes place. You don't wait until somebody is kidnapped. You now begin to check, you know, in the motor park, did they have meeting points where they gather? Do they have places where they...
Now, do they even have these equipments that they need for these researches that they need to make?
Well, I can't, to be honest, I don't really know if they have it.
From their statements, you find out that security operatives keep complaining about, in fact, not just security operatives now, a lot of parastatals and sectors and agencies in the country, they keep complaining. You see equipment, especially for research in the educational sector now. You start hearing cases of them not even having these equipments available. Okay, now we have rooms for the laboratories, but the laboratories are not even equipped. So this are we even really ready for the development that we are asking for?
Now that brings an important question. How many cyber security labs do we have in Nigeria for our security institutions?
Are we even ready to fund these cyber security labs?
Yeah.
In the first place?
Then you look at the policemen. How many of our policemen are IT compliant? How many of them are IT compliant? How many of them can, you know, understand the basic tech, that have basic tech skills?
If they are being trained, don't you think they'll be able to do that?
Why I'm asking this question is because I want to bring out the solutions. We need to train our policemen, our military personnel based on tech. They need to be equipped with technology. The warfare is not just shoot and shoot and shoot. Look at what's happening. We have a global security breach with just a computer malfunction or something, ICT problem, and many aviation companies are cancelling their flights. So security problems or global security challenges has gone big. So part of the solutions is that we need to train our security officials or agents on tech. They need to understand the basic tech, they need to have basic tech skills, and they need to be ICT compliant. They need to know that. So if we bring in technology into our security, it will help a lot. If you go through some areas, there's no CCTV cameras. Most of our roads, we don't have CCTV cameras that are functioning. I remember traveling.
That they're supposed to be CCTV cameras are not there.
Okay, I remember these interstate security measures that were put in place. If you're traveling from Port Harcourt to Bayelsa, the east-west road, you will see that there is a security checkpoint, and they used to have this CCTV camera. Go and see the facilities there. In the poor state, is it maintained? Is it functioning? You will see that some of the things are all worn out. No maintenance. So,
you know, this maintenance things is really, this maintenance talk is really deep. When we talk about maintenance now, we look at the fact that probably the agencies that are supposed to maintain these things are not being well funded enough to maintain them. We also look at the individuals who were put in charge of maintaining these things as not doing their jobs. Because there's this idea of, oh, it's not my business, it's the government's business. And people feel like the government is one entity somewhere. And people tend to, a lot of times, put that anger they have on the leadership of the country. They put it on the government's infrastructure and equipment and all of those things. And they don't do what they are actually employed to do. So when we talk about maintenance of some of our infrastructures and parastatals, we're looking at the leadership. We're also looking at the people not even playing their own role in that aspect.
It's a collective responsibility. It's a collective effort. The security of any nation is a collective responsibility of the citizens and the government in ensuring that the country is secured. If I am secured and you are secured, we are all secured. The insecurity of one is a threat to others. And the insecurity that is happening in the northeast, for example, or the insecurity happening in the south-south, or in the southeast, or in the southwest, affects us as a nation, as a country, collectively, because we are all Nigerians. And when there is a security crisis, the news that goes out in Nigeria, from Nigeria. So we all need to play our role, the citizens, every one of us. How we maintain our things, how we keep our things safe, how we share information, and how we make sure that we do the right things, how we follow and respect the laws, and those who are also enforcing the laws do not use the laws to oppress the innocent or abuse the people.
All right, so some time off right now. When we return, conversation continues. We have a few minutes to wrap things up. We have another story, and this story is one that I really want you to be a part of because you're a Nigerian and this really concerns all of us. Please stay with us.
Kasali, I hope my car don't ready. I get interview in 30 minutes.
Okay, you don't ready. I just the last minute instruction where you give me yesterday. Now in the cause more delay.
Which instruction?
Maybe now you say make I change the meter, make you no read again.
Which time I make you change meter? Oh, Kasali, why you do like this now? You don't get sense. You don't read the text message. Nobody I want to send them to. Like Kasali, my electrician, make it come house, call me do my meter so that you don't go to read again. You the electrician?
The electrician.
Yes, now.
So you call Kasali electrician, make it come help you adjust your meter, make it for no read again, Abi. So you said you want join people where be say they no want they pay NEPA bill again, Abi. Oga, you know good now. You don't use you don't they behave like tea, all these stiff people.
Oh, what you change from your motor? What you change from?
Two lights. Fuel gauge. Speedometer.
For what now? You for come over home my motor. I better identify for me.
Okay. Now don't do something we corrupt. And something come backfire. Now go come they find how to dodge them.
What you talk?
They greet you.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Atn Sunday Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Back to talk about Nigeria and the protests that Nigerians are discussing, especially on social media at this time, where we have popular actor Yul Edochie urging Nigerians to be patient with President Bola Tinubu, and he's calling for protests amidst the calls for protest against the government, Edochie, who was a staunch supporter of Tinubu during his presidential campaign, assured that the president listens and that he's doing all that he can. The thespian made this known via his Instagram account on Friday. And in his words, and I quote, "I acknowledge the hardship. Yes, I know. Protest is not the answer." He wrote, "The people take advantage of protests to break into other people's shops, to steal, to destroy properties, to hurt and to kill innocent Nigerians who are already going through a lot. And in the end, the aim of the protest will be defeated. Remember what happened during the EndSARS." A protest, is it going to help the economic hardship that we have today?
Nigerians have a constitutional right to peacefully protest. Peaceful protests is a part of democracy. Are we practicing democracy? If we are, then the people have a right to voice out their complaints. Protest is not fighting the government. If it is done peacefully and if it is done in an organized and orderly way. So I don't think anybody should paint anyone black or paint anyone bad for wanting to protest. It is critical. It is a part of democracy, because democracy should be government of the people, and the people have a responsibility to speak out and air or voice out their complaints peacefully. That's my name. My native name is Peace, and I advocate for peace, and my postgraduate program is on peace.
Can we have a peaceful protest in this country?
It is possible,
especially of this nature, where almost everybody is affected, not almost, and now a lot of people are going to come out. Can we have a peaceful
We can have a peaceful protest, but the problem is many bad elements like to infiltrate the crowd.
Exactly the reason I asked that question.
They like to infiltrate the crowd, or they want to infiltrate the crowd to mess things up.
Now those people don't forget that those people you just described now are still around.
They are not majority.
Okay. But,
so it is when the majority said we want a peaceful protest and they stand on that, the minority cannot overpower them.
What happened during the EndSARS protest? Remember that we still had these people, hoodlums, who were hijacking the protest.
We can't tie ourselves to the EndSARS protest or use it as a reference to stop us from speaking out.
Don't forget that a lot of people lost their lives during that protest, according to reports.
That is why it is important for both the government, the leaders, and everyone to work together as a team. The people are coming to air their voice, or air their complaints, or protest. The responsibility of the security is to protect the peaceful protesters. The responsibility of the government is to listen to them. The responsibility of the protesters is to protest peacefully. Don't break the laws. Don't steal. Don't loot. Don't extort.
The idea was to make the EndSARS protest very peaceful. The people were out for it. In fact, remember they were having shows on the road where they had different artists come to perform, and the people were just dancing and all that. So even the people decided that it's not going to be a violent protest. But it looks like that was not enough.
That's why I said that bad elements would like to infiltrate. But then we should learn lessons from the EndSARS protest.
What lessons are we supposed to
learn?
One
of the lessons we should learn is that we should not allow bad elements to infiltrate and cause disorderliness in a peaceful protest.
How do we do that?
We do that by strong awareness among the protesters, working with the security operatives and agencies to ensure there is no breakdown of law and order. Because we are in a society that we should practice law and order. We are not in a lawless society. We are in a law-guided, regulated society, where the rule of law is important and fundamental in any democratic setting or democracy, or a country that practices democracy or that prides herself as a democratic nation. So there is a responsibility. The responsibility involves all of us, the government, the protesters, the security agencies, every one of us. The question is, why are they protesting? For failure of leadership. The leaders should realize that the people, you ask for the people to give you the opportunity to lead. if you are not doing well, sit down. You don't even need protesters.
Now let's
let me say this before you go there.
Mentioned earlier.
Let me say this before you go there. Hunger is one of the biggest protesters in Nigeria.
Okay, so back to what I don't know if you followed through with the NSAS protests.
I did.
Because the people, first of all, one of the things they were protesting for, the major thing was bad governance, right? But one of the things they were protesting for was the security operatives. The welfare of the security operatives were one of the demands that Nigerian youths had on their list for the government. And there was enough awareness. If you talk about awareness being created, see that NSAS protest, there was enough awareness everywhere. It was hashtag NSAS. I don't know if there have been any other hashtag that had more engagement than the hashtag NSAS. Now, awareness was created. The people were told what to do. They had one voice, one mind. They had security operatives a lot of the times in the places that they stepped out to around there to make sure that these hoodlums do not come to hijack the protest. But what happened at the end of the day? There were talks about it being sabotaged, and then these hoodlums came up and hijacked the protest. And when you see hoodlums holding guns and all, you don't expect people to stand and face them. So saying that we should do the same thing, unless you have a different suggestion or recommendation that could be carried out this time to make sure that we don't end this protest the same way the NSAS protest ended.
What I said earlier, it's a responsibility of all of us. There is no way in a society where the security agencies, the governments, the protesters, and every one of us play our parts that you will have hoodlums. Who are hoodlums? Where do they come from? Are they not coming from communities?
They're among the people.
Very good. Are they not individuals? Are they ghosts? Are they not human beings?
They're still among the people that these other people are fighting for. And you cannot take that away from the society.
Who pays the hoodlums?
You cannot take it away from the society.
Who pays the hoodlums? Who funds them? Who organizes them? Who empowers them? Who gave them logistics? Who even transports them? Because some hoodlums are transported from other places to other areas to cause problems. Who transport them? These are important questions. So if we all play our parts,
can we ever get? Okay? This is about to happen. This protest talks are on for it. Are we in that area, or are we in that time where we will all play our parts? Do you see everybody playing their parts at this time? We didn't do it that 2020.
That's what I don't know. That's why I'm saying if we all play our parts, the governments, the security agencies, the protesters. See, let's come to the roots. Do we even need a protest?
That is the question I asked you earlier.
A lot of protests.
Is the protest what we need at this time?
If you have a listening leader, or if you have leaders that are listening to the people, there is a loud noise, there is a loud protest going on in Nigeria, which is hunger. Hunger is this protest that is going on. So you don't even need somebody to carry a placard to tell you that they are hungry and they are starving. Many Nigerians are hungry and malnourished because of bad policies and bad governance. So if you are a listening leader, and one of the qualities of good leadership, because I teach leadership and I practice leadership myself, listening. You listen to the people. Hunger is very loud. It's very loud. It's on the streets, hunger. In offices, hunger. Everywhere, hunger. So you don't even need people to carry placard. The placard of hunger is enough for the government to walk the talk. That's just what I can say.
So you think we should not protest at this time? That's not what we need.
People have the constitutional right to peacefully protest. I will keep saying peaceful protest. Even in the democracies that we are trying to copy,
nobody's
they do have peaceful protests.
Do not have the constitutional rights to protest peacefully. Now the thing is, with these factors that we have on ground, at the moment, is this what we really need to do? Now, how do we see this playing out at the end of the day? Of course, it's possible to have a peaceful protest, but when you have these factors and the place where you are, and having in mind that we've had a protest before, and a lot of people lost their lives, is that how we want this one to end up? This is not me advocating against the protest. Neither is it me advocating for the protest. This is just me trying to say, let us look at this side and the other side, and that's what we're trying to do on the show now. If we learn the lessons of the past, the reason why we have history, so that we learn from the past to make right decisions today, so that our tomorrow will be better. If we learn the lessons of the past and we apply those lessons today, it will help us to prevent the situation you're talking about. But we cannot bury our head on the failures of the NSAS protest and say because it failed, this one is going to fail. If we are all responsible, but all of us, if we are all responsible, we'll have a peaceful protest. And peaceful protest is part of democracy. Okay, so let's look at it now. Do you actually think that Nigerians are, because Yul Edochie has called on Nigerians to be patient with the government, with this administration. Do you think that Nigerians are being patient enough with this administration? Nigerians are some of the most patient people anywhere in the world. Some of the things we face in this country, some countries they cannot condone it, they cannot take it. We are very patient people. We've been patient for over 60 years. So I don't know the patience he's talking about. He's a respected person and I respect him. I do watch his movies. But the truth is Nigerians are patient. We're patient. If you have something to offer, you don't need 20 years. If I see an apple tree... This is a new administration. Good. This is the administration he said be patient with. Good. By their fruits, you shall know them. If you see an apple tree, it might not have gotten all the fruits, but gradually. In fact, from when the seed the leaves start to come out, sprouts and grow, you know that this is going to be an apple tree. So if you have leadership in you, you don't need 20 years. All right, thank you so much, Deima Emmanuel George, for your thoughts on the show today. Quite interesting working with you. Thank you. We appreciate you coming. And we must thank you, our viewer, for being a part of this conversation, because this is where we get to wrap it up on this episode of ATN Sunday. As ATN Sunday will come your way again next Sunday. But remember that we are open for advert placements, for your bookings, for your commercials. We are open. All you have to do is connect with us and watch us on all of our socials, on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website at www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Have it in mind always that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. I am Enidoye Jackson. Coming up next is Open Air. Stay with us.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. We call you back.
Their behavior not good now.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently, make Nigeria for better.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Atn Sunday Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say nothing. Okay now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract we will do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap him.
Beg, see, you know, say